Hello, I'm Dr. Liza Long, and in this video, I am going to show you how I am using ChatGPT and my custom Liza Long Persona Bot writing bot to write a novel. Now, we should probably start with the question of, should I be using ChatGPT to write a novel? So let me give you a little backstory. In, I think, June or July of 2023, I asked ChatGPT 3.5 to write a brief biography of me. Now, I do have some writing experience, a little bit of a public presence for some work I've done in mental health advocacy. So, ChatGPT did return some correct information, including the correct title for my book, The Price of Silence: A Mom's Perspective on Mental Illness. However, the bot also hallucinated. I recall those days as the fun Wild West of chatbots because they would just make up the most outlandish things. I think they're getting much better, but hallucination is still a risk. So always keep that in mind. Always verify information that you get from a chatbot. Anyway, as part of that biography, ChatGPT said that I had written this book with an intriguing title. The title was The Spider and the Fly: A Mother's Courageous Journey from Fear to Freedom. And I thought, wow, that is a great title. I'm going to have ChatGPT write that book for me someday. Well, someday's here. I'm now teaching creative nonfiction independent studies this term. Both of my students are working on a novel, and I always write along with my students when I teach creative nonfiction. So I don't have time to write a novel this term. And I thought, ChatGPT, let's come back to that and see what we can do. So I'm going to share my screen. And again, keep in mind that like the question of whether I should do this is very much an open question. And it's definitely something you would want to consider for yourself. So you can see here, I've chosen the Liza Long Persona Bot. This is a bot, a custom ChatGPT. You cannot access this custom GPT. It's private just to me. But I can use it, and I have used it to write blog posts, maybe to write emails or recommendation letters for students. So it can be useful in a lot of ways. And I've trained it, like if we just looked really quickly, I'll just show you this GPT because I know you guys are doing that. So in the configure screen, I just use natural language to program it. So these are instructions that I gave it. And then I also uploaded some files. They're not showing here, but I uploaded some files, several files of my blog style writing, as well as some professional emails to kind of train it to write like me. So this is just an alter ego bot that embodies the writing style and personality of Liza Long. All right, so if we go back, this is the chat that I have started, and it's a I've been interacting with it for a while. So this, as with any, you can see it's quite a long chat. As with any project, though, when you co-write with a chatbot, it's not a one and done situation, right? So you can see just by the tone of the bot, it's not writing like ChatGPT usually does. It's kind of already writing like me, a little bit informal, focusing on analogy, metaphor, having some fun with its writing. So that's what it knows about me as a writer, right? It's right up our alley, it says. So I told it, okay, my alter ego, it's time for a pretty major project, and then explained how that backstory of how I came to wanting to work on this. And ChatGPT said, oh, this is a fantastic project. It's right up our alley. And it really likes the idea of taking that hallucination. How meta is that for us to then create a novel? So I wasn't really sure how I wanted to approach this book. And at first, we had to decide what kind of novel it was going to be. Is it memoir based? Would it be a thriller? Would it be suspense, literary fiction? What type of novel did I want to write? So it gives me this outline, and this is a pretty good outline. And it gives me a lot of things that I can start talking to it about. So it said, what do you think? I said, I'm torn. My previous book was creative nonfiction. I do want this one to be fiction, but I have plenty of life material. I kind of shared a previous manuscript that I have out there that my agent had said I needed to Gone Girl up. So maybe I would like to do a thriller. That might be fun. And ChatGPT is down for that. Let's Gone Girl this thing right up. It says so. A spider's web of twist. So then it gives me a core concept. and explains to me why that's kind of Gone Girl-ish. I don't know if you've read the book. I refer to it a lot, but like I thought it was funny. My agent said to Gone Girl it up. I knew exactly what she meant. And so then it brings in some stuff that we would want to talk about. But I also like that since I knew I was teaching the class and I wanted to kind of model this for my students, it talks about the types of things that I can share with my creative fiction students this term. And I guess I can share with students in my English 199 class as well. So it talks a lot about a lot of things like character development, which is something we're working on, plot twist, writing and revising scenes, of course, having ethical discussions. What's the line between inspiration and reliance? And then collaborative exercises. Then look how funny it is. Let's start spinning the web. So it gives me an opening scene. How does it feel? I said, well, I like it. And so then we're like talking about who the protagonist will be, and we're getting into this. She's going to be some kind of Stepford wife. You can see it's talking a lot, home so picturesque. It'll be in Southern living. Who's the spider? What's the escape plan? And we're just kind of thinking through all these things. So it asks me a lot of questions. I say, okay, the spider's going to be a young man she meets through a very part-time job, social studies teacher or something. All right, well, that sounds like fun. So you'll notice I'm contributing the characters, right? It's kind of really spinning it out, but at every point is giving me a lot of choices that I have to make. So it's asking me questions about how this works. So this is really brainstorming the novel, right? We haven't gotten to writing it yet. It keeps going. We're thinking about it, the end game, and I was like, slow down. I need more back and forth. Like, I don't really want you writing this whole thing. So like, I really, and then I say, I want unreliable narrator, unlikable, but also lovable characters. And I'm thinking of Tom Perotta's novel, Little Children, which is a fantastic book if you haven't read it. It's like, oh, okay, morally messy. I get it. And also because I told it to slow down, it did actually start producing the words more slowly, which I thought was really fun. So we've slowed down a little bit, and it's going to next step. And I said, let's just take this one step at a time. So it's still moving too fast for me. I said, one step at a time. Can we do that? Focus on step one. We're naming the characters. So we decide it's Jack and Adam are going to be their names. Step two, let's talk about which one they are. So I do that. We create a backstory. So you can see I've slowed it down and we're just focusing on Jack for a while, right? Then we're coming in to kind of get the backstory for Jack. We get background. It gives me a lot of options. We're trying to figure out what their dynamic is. Everything's about power for both of them. Power dynamics, we keep going. Power shifts at the end. And then I was like, this is so fun. And it was. It was a really fun and exciting process to be collaborating with ChatGPT in real time with my own persona bot that's trained to write like me. So I was like, oh, yes, she's the spider. And I didn't know that going in, right? So she's going to wrap them all up and leave them caught in the web. And then I'm like, okay, we're good with Jack. Let's check out Adam. So we get into the perfect husband, and we had a lot of fun with that one. So yeah, that's Adam. I was like, you nailed him. He's your basic narcissist, right? Okay. I was like, through the book, we want to see men as predators, different kinds. Think traditional and woke, but she plays them. And the bot likes that. He's like, it's like, yeah, that sounds like fun. So we've got predator versus spider, the journey from fly to spider. So we're working on plot now. And I was like, let me read through everything and think on it. But in the meantime, when I teach creative writing, I always have my students start with a scene. Could we write a scene where Adam comes home from work? We don't want her name to be Eve, and Ariadne is too obvious. Maybe Lucy. So I haven't named her yet. The bot writes this scene. And if you followed any of the conversations on social media about what a bad writer ChatGPT can be for fiction, this one, like, I didn't think this was that good, right? And I was like, okay, I get where you're going. But then I told it, I don't write with adverbs, which I don't. This is something I teach my students too. I said, I prefer to let my verbs do the work. Could we revise to remove the adverbs? Otherwise, the tone feels like me. Nice work. So got it. No adverbs. And this, I do think, is very similar to like short stories that I have written. So since this is a pretty conventional plot, I mean, we've worked out the little plot twists together, but it's pretty conventional. It's a Gone Girl thriller, right? Like I think that ChatGPT did a decent job with this. And I was like, this is it. You've got it. But here's the key, all of you, that I want you to think about. What is my role as a writer here, though? Who am I as the writer in this process? As you can see, I've definitely been participating. I am part of this chat, and I have made a lot of important decisions about the way the narrative will go. But the bulk of the writing is being done by my persona bot. And I really did feel kind of strange about this. So that's why I asked it. I'm like, who am I as a writer? Of course, it says you're still the writer, but I'm not sure that I am. Spoiler alert. So it tells me why it thinks I'm the writer, and I can see this, right? I do have the final say. I have been the architect. I have definitely shaped the story. I do have a distinct voice, but it's got my voice, which again is just a weird, uncanny feeling for me, right? It's bringing in all this stuff. I can turn out draft scenes or snippets, but they're raw material for you to to mold. And I think I probably will rewrite dialogue better when I come in. But what an interesting way to approach a novel, right? So I have been the architect. I've laid out the plan, my big picture for it. We've been in conversation on that. It's definitely challenged me and given me ideas, but it could write this thing for me for sure. So I could have a rough draft of an entire novel, I think, pretty quickly. Right. And that is a weird feeling for me. I absolutely would want to put my own stamp on it. I would want to be checking on it. Um, but this is a big move for me. I quite candidly do use AI to draft a lot of what I call boring writing, maybe recommendation letters. Those aren't really boring, but it's really template writing. Emails that are really just summaries of things, those types of things. I let my persona bot write, and I always check them, of course, but I don't really feel guilty about that type of writing. But when it comes to creative writing, I do wonder where the lines are and who the writer is. Who am I as the writer in this process? So this has been a weird experience for me so far. But I do think that this is an intriguing idea that ChatGPT offers here, that what I provide is scaffolding, a temporary structure to help you build the real thing. Maybe that's ethical. I'm not sure. So how does my voice matter? I have trained this thing. It does really kind of have my voice. If you read a short story by me, you'd be like, "Oh, yeah, that's what her voice feels like." So I was like, I think we can get this done, but I need to look over the suggested plot points and make some decisions. So that's where we are. Check out the emoji, y'all. It gave me a little web. I love when it does, it goes all emoji. All right, so where does that leave us? Well, it leaves me with a lot of questions. I'm still not sure that it's a great idea to use my Liza Long Persona Bot in this way. I'm going to try it because I do follow Ethan Mollick's principle, always invite AI to the table, and I am inviting AI to this table. So lots of things to think about, and please reach out to me if you have questions. Happy writing this week.